Welcome to the Breakthrough and Conquered podcast, the show where we'll break free of old patterns and generation curses that have held us back for far too long. I'm your host, Claudia Garcia, and in this space, you will gain the tools and the resources to help you create a life-changing transformation. Together, we'll learn to think, act, and become the top 1%, how to conquer limited beliefs, boost productivity, but mainly to know exactly what it takes for you to live out your dream life. Welcome back to the Breakthrough and Conquered podcast. I have a very special guest. She went from working corporate, doing the whole shebang of what looked good on paper, but decided to pivot and went into her online business, making over $2 million in sales. She's a co-author to this amazing book called She Leads and We Rise. She's a leader, she's a mother, but most of all, she's a really good friend of mine. Welcome, Kristen Braun.
Hello. Thank you so much. That's an intro. I love it.
For sure, you deserve it.
Oh,
So
thank you.
let's talk about your story because I think your story is so powerful. How did it begin so people can understand what caused you to pivot from, doing the thing that you're supposed to do?
Yeah, I've had a lot of thought around this because for me, there wasn't like one specific line in the sand moment. When I look back at what was going on, I think I can pinpoint some very specific times and experiences from my job that kind of led me to this.
Yeah.
But I think overall, like as I really have dug deep into like what led me here, like what led me to this path, because anybody that knows me from my old life will say pre-business, they would tell you, and my husband still says it all the time, that like I was that corporate girl. Like I was the person who knew what I wanted from a very young age and I was going after it and I was getting it. And so I was in my corporate job and I was, I was getting the promotions. I was doing the next thing. I had the trajectory. I had literally just met with the SVP and the manager, and they told me like the whole plan, like how I was getting to the SVP role like one
Wow.
day, and it was all laid out. So, outside looking in and even just inside looking in, like why would I change? Why would I pivot? Why would I want something different? But I think it just really boiled down to, I was going to Hawaii. I was about to go to Hawaii. My sister-in-law had won this like amazing trip. So we were about to jet off to Hawaii. And it was like the week before, or maybe like 3 days before we left, I had come across, what could be in this space. I came across a master class and I watched that and I was like, yeah, I think that I could be successful and still contribute and still give back and still like be accomplished, because I know that about myself, and I don't want to do nothing. I want to work and I want to provide and I want to accomplish things, but I wanted my time and my freedom. I wanted experiences to travel. So that trip to Hawaii really kickstarted that, because then I started looking for jobs like, what could I do in Hawaii? But then I realized I would still be stuck to a desk in Hawaii, living in this beautiful place, but not exploring it and never spending time in the house that, I'd be paying for. So that's when this whole online realm kind of spewed into my existence. And I gave it a fair chance of, wow, maybe there could be something outside of just like a corporate job for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So it sounds like time was your biggest motivator. You
Yeah.
realized very early on that you wanted to own your own time. I think that's huge.
Yeah. And it is a big realization too, because I dove into this space when I was 23 years old. So I was young. I was a young pup. I had just gotten married like 7 months beforehand. And so it was a big stretch to think like, oh, I'm going to do something different now. But I had full support from my husband in it as well, which was big too.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So when you got presented this online business that we do, and you were like in your corporate job, because I know you loved your job, like you said, like there was nothing wrong with it. It was just more like trying to find a solution to own your time back. Like, how was it pivoting? Like, because sometimes it's scary for people. Like, did you feel that fear? Did you feel doubt? Like, what was going on internally when you made that pivot?
Yeah, I did. Going back to that first comment, like I did love my job. There was nothing wrong with the job. There was nothing wrong with the people I worked with or my manager or the company culture. Like I was all in. Like I was drinking the Kool-Aid and I loved it. It was like the best Kool-Aid ever. Uh, but the pivot to when I already explained the backstory of it, but then the pivot up to actually doing this and, trying to shoot my shot, so to speak, in something different that I had already like been working towards my whole life.
Mhm.
It wasn't scary necessarily to me in the sense of I had the security blanket, so to speak, I guess, of still working my job. I was working my full
Yeah.
time job on the side of building this business. I guess what was scary to me was having people find out before I was ready, which looking
Mhm.
back, I wish I didn't have that fear because I could have impacted so many more lives if that wasn't holding me back because I did certain things differently and showed up a little bit differently because I wasn't stepping into the full of who I was and what I was trying to do because I was trying to play nice on both sides. But then when I realized like I wasn't hurting anybody for my corporate job by trying to do something for my own. And when I actually did quit my job, I had the full support from like everyone into my department. It was
Mhm.
it was really like the most heartwarming thing because I thought they were going to be like, "Are you serious? You're ruining your life." And they were like, "Get it, girl. Like you got this." So it wasn't difficult in that sense, but I think what was more difficult actually, Claudia, was like when I did quit my job. When I
Yeah.
quit my job and then I didn't have the structure of a 9 to 5, which I had. I was young. I was 23, but I had been working since I was 16 and I did jobs like when I was 15, 14 even. Like so
Yeah.
I'd known the structure of it. So I think what was more difficult for me in the pivot of like employee to entrepreneurship was when I was a full-time entrepreneur and I was still sticking to like the 8 to 5 schedule. And I was realizing that I wasn't actually performing as well because I thought I had to work 8 hours or more a day when in reality, like I could get my best work done sometimes like really late at night or sometimes like really early in the morning. And then like, oh, I could fill my own cup during the day, which in turn made my business perform better too. And it's a weird thing to think about when you're so ingrained into the normal way of thinking. So,
No, I think that's also yes, like, it was scary to start this business, but it definitely making that pivot of jumping this full time definitely was even scarier. But
yeah.
you hit it on the nail. It's like you start to learn to switch your mindset from, like, an employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. And I think I had something similar too, where, like, when I quit, I felt like, "Okay, now I can work 8, 10, 12 hours on my business without any guilt that, like, I only had, like, maybe 1 or 2." But then I realized, I was like, "No, it actually
Yeah.
defeats the purpose of this business that you're,
Mhm.
like, pouring
Mhm.
so much into it." So, when you made that pivot and you're like, "Okay, you're owning your time, you're, like, doing your schedule, you're realizing how to fill your own cup first so that way your business thrives." Like, where was it where, like I don't know, because 'cause you're also the type of person that I like, from the get-go, you went all in. And that's not common, you know? Like, I've been doing this for going on 5 years, you've been doing it longer, but I'm starting to realize people who go all in isn't a common characteristic. So, like, what helped you go all in to do this business?
You're so right. It's not common. And I think when you get started, like if you're just so blindly focused on your goals, like you and I both were and are, like we just went all in from the beginning. It's like you don't actually realize, like, why would you not? Like for other people now
Mhm.
that we've been in this space for a while, it's like,
That
it
part.
really is. Yeah, it's like, why are you just dilly-dallying? Like, this gets
Mhm.
life-changing. This can change your life in so many ways. Like, what are you doing? And it's like you just wanna shake people sometimes, but you can't. You cannot want it more than them. But sorry, I went on a side rage on that because it really is. It's
Yeah.
like hard, especially as when you're coaching people and you want it
Yeah.
so badly for them too. I think that's what pulls at my heartstrings because both you and I are
Yeah.
very like servant like hearts. We like to serve people. We want to see the reciprocation, but that's kind of what that was a downfall for me for a while, I would say, after I quit my job, especially too, was like coaching people, but realizing like some people just aren't going to give it all. And you can't
Yeah.
do anything about that. I didn't answer your question though. What was the question?
That's okay. No, because I do wanna touch up base off this, but the question pretty much is, like, what helped you go all in? Like, it was because that's not something very common.
Yes, okay, so what helped me go all in
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
I mean, it was never even, like, a thing where I, like, had to, like, try to make myself do it. Basically, what helped me every single day, like, I had these I remember vividly having conversations with Trey, my husband, and being like, "Yeah, I'm gonna leave my job. Yeah, I'm gonna get you out" before I ever left my job, and I would be telling him, "I'm gonna get you out of your job too." I would tell him, "We're gonna do this RV trip across America. We are both
Yeah.
gonna be home to present parent our
Aw.
children. We are gonna, like, travel." I have said all of these things, and any time that, like, now looking back and us have actually experienced that, living that, and like done what I said I was going to do, Trey's like, anything you have said you were going to do, you've done. And so that's just business side. But going back to like what helped me go all in, there's two things. One, it's just in my personality. Like, as I said, from a very young age, I knew what I wanted to do and I was going to go after it and I was going to do it no matter what. And nothing was going to stop me. And that was my personality in corporate as well. So in college, I got the, like, I did what I was going to do. I got the internships. I got the job like right out of high school or college. I graduated a semester early so I could start working earlier. Like, it was all these things that it's just like, it's kind of in my blood,
Ingrained
I
in you.
guess, my personality to just like do it. But I think this is where you need to like get real with yourself sometimes and just like understand how you are as a person. Because for me, having, I guess, just it's lack of better words right now, but having success or results or accomplishing or having the acclimates is something that is important to me. And there was a point in my life where they did kind of become an idol. And I have realized that and I have changed that. Now it's still important to me to achieve and to accomplish and to have acclimates, right? Like, especially as a business owner, like that
Mhm.
drives you, but it can become an idol in your life. And I think there can be a downfall when that does happen. So I think, navigating that it is a lot. But then also for someone that is maybe like, well, I don't know if I have it in me or not. Like, if you're on the brink of trying to do your own business or whatever,
Yeah.
think about your end goal. Like, for us, when I
Yeah.
looked at our business model, when I saw the legacy income, I was like, not even just like our rankings of like, our 6A franchise lane, when you start earning, bonuses and stuff. But then when you hit legacy,
Yeah.
and being able to will money to your children, having almost like a retirement plan essentially, and truly like making an impact in so many people's lives from that, I was like, I can't unsee that. And if I know I could get that, why would I stop? Like, it just
Yeah.
wasn't a question in my brain. I was like, anytime there might have been like a little like, oh, like, when's this going to pan out for me? Right. I just looked at that and I was like, oh, that's what I'm working towards. So I'm not going to stop. So
Yeah, no, I really do think it's ingrained in you. Like and I think it's also a beautiful, if it's not engraved in you, it's a beautiful journey of who you're going to become so you can achieve the legacy ranking. Cause I think that's the most exciting part. Once I did that switch of like, when am I going to get there? It was more of like, well, I will get there when, when I'm ready for it. It's all in the
yeah.
best timing for it. And I think there's something, a commonality with you and I is everything when I saw this business, I straight up told JP, I was like, same thing. I'm gonna like this is gonna allow me to be with my son. I'm gonna be able to quit. I'm gonna be able to retire you, and we're gonna be doing this selling water. And he's like, what
I
the
love it.
fuck? He's like, what? He's like, "You sound fucking crazy." And I'm like, "No, but, like, you have to watch this." And I don't know, there is something that when I watched it, I was like, "Okay, this is something I feel like I've always prayed for the how," you know?
Mhm.
Because I think in my own story, it's like I've always been the hard worker. I've always been an all-in person. I don't stop until I get it. Like, I don't give up easily. And so I just always remember thinking, I'm like, driving in nice areas. Luckily, we live in the Bay Area, so we can go up to the hills and see all these nice houses and kind of like manifest it, or like we would pretend we're like, okay, like we're just going home. Like that's what we're like doing.
Yeah.
But then I would always have this question of like, but how? Like,
Mhm.
how is this possible? So when I saw this compensation plan, I was like, this is the how. This
How?
is the how. Yeah.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think that is so important because you don't know the how, even when you found the how of the business model and the vehicle, but you still didn't know, like, well, how am I going to make the sales? Where will I get the clients? How will my marketing work? Like, you still, even in your journey, even today where we are in our businesses,
Yeah.
we can't tell you what the how, like, we know our systems and how things work, but we don't know where these, clients and interested people in markets are coming from. Like, like, you just have to trust the process and do the work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really important.
No, and I think, yeah, because it's true. Because what works for me might not work for you. And like, that's just business. Like, literally,
Yeah.
everybody has different structures. But I think the beautiful part of like you said, we're servant leaders, we're willing to like try and learn and adapt and like try to execute as much as we possibly can. But I do want to touch base of like what you mentioned of like wanting it more for other people. Because I think
Yeah.
that is like such a big struggle. I know I struggle that like from time to time that you just like want it so bad for people because like you know what's possible for them. You see the potential in them. You like see it more than they sometimes see it in themselves. But like how do you go about that? Because obviously you're like you have a bigger team, you kind of like have more experience with that. Like, how do you go about working with somebody who like maybe just doesn't want it as much as you do?
Yeah, and like I said, more at the beginning, it got to me more and when I say got to me, I mean like I would pour into them more because I was like, "Oh, like you just clearly need more. You need to see the vision more. Like you need to
Mhm.
understand like why you need to be doing this more." And so I was spending a lot of my time and energy there. I still spent a lot of my time and energy with the people that were going after it and doing the thing, but inevitably I didn't spend as much time with them because I didn't need to because they were resourceful and they were doing it
Yeah.
like that, and I was still giving them the coaching. So the leftover energy was going towards the people who just like at the end of the day, they didn't care enough or they weren't at the point in their lives where they hadn't strong enough why, I guess,
Mhm.
to be doing it. And so I like had to draw a line. Like if somebody is building this business and I'm coaching them, I am going to like I'm your coach, right? Like I'm going to be there for you. I am going to help you and I'm also going to help you be resourceful. I'm also going to help you figure it out yourself. And if kind of stop the communications, if you aren't showing up, I don't see you on calls, like, like I see these things. I pay attention to these things. It's hard not to
Yeah.
when you're coaching somebody. And I can only do so much to you directly. So what I started to do, which I think was really smart and a time saver, was I will speak to them through an Instagram story. It will help many people that watch my Instagram stories because I'm doing stories all the time anyways. And I know those people who aren't showing up are also watching my stories. So I'm giving them coaching moments. I'm giving them these nuggets, but I'm not one-on-one directly with these different people who, are energy takers and not givers at all. And then I can spew energy into the go-getters, the ones that are showing up and the people that aren't. And maybe they'll have a change of heart. And I have seen it happen. Like people just go through, and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to put down like, oh, you're not showing up, whatever. People go through different cycles and different seasons. I have seen people who had a hard season. They started this business and then something happened. But the beauty of this business is it's always going to be around and you're always going to have your distributor rights. So then they
Yeah.
came back when they were ready and then they were ready
Yeah.
for it. And I was there for them at that time.
Yeah, no, and I think that's really beautiful because that's what's amazing about this business. It's you can take that break. You can take that moment to like figure your shit out. You can take as long as you want. I think it's like a blessing and a curse, Like
Yeah.
however, I think that's really smart of you of like cuz that's exactly what I do in my stories. Like the lead conversations that I have, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is what I should be talking about." So, no, that is really genius.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going back to I want to go back to a little bit. You said like you stick to your word. And I always say this to my own team. I was like, you want to become the person who sticks to their word. Like if you say you're going to do something, just do it. That's how it's going to happen. And you stuck your word to quitting your job and you even stuck your word to retiring Trey. So how was that transition going? Like, was he nervous? Was he like going for it? What's that experience for you?
He was so nervous. He was so nervous. He was nervous leading up to it. He nervous in the sense of like he's just worked his whole life, right? Like he's a little bit older
Yeah.
than I am. He's worked longer than I am. It's just his family works. Like no, no one does something like this. So
Yeah.
yeah, he was definitely nervous when I brought when I quit my job, he was like, "Oh, okay, like that's cool." I still think he had a little like he believed in me, but he was still like, "Are you
Yeah.
really gonna be able to get me out of my job?" So it didn't sink in yet. And
Yeah.
then when we were at the point of like, no, like I have the deadline, like this is when it's going to happen. And you see the results like rolling in. And he was like, okay, like let's do it. But I don't even know the right word, something deeper than nervous because like he was kind of
Yeah.
scared. And I think it hit him more like like his last day of work. I like remember like him coming home and like we being like, you're not going back on Monday because he like left on a Friday. His last day was like on a Friday. And it was like I could see like the week after, like it was almost like he wasn't like at the excitement level that I was at because he was so like he was one, like, is this real life? Like, it just feels like I'm on vacation. And then two, like, what did I just do? I left my job. Like, and I think it's so different from the woman and man perspective because men are providers, right? And here
Mhm.
I am leading him leave his job because I'm providing. So I think that was really hard. And then the third aspect of that, we're from a really small town.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. And
Mhm.
For sometimes even to this day, sometimes little things get to him. Not so much anymore because he's like, "I really don't care, like, you can see the life I'm living."
Yeah.
You're just saying this because 'cause you're hating, I don't know. But
Yeah.
at first, he was like, "People are gonna think I'm just, like, mooching. I'm just, like, don't do anything. I'm,
Mhm.
whatever." And I'm like, "You have to let their opinions be their opinions. Because if this was roles reversed and you let me quit my job to just travel with you or to be a stay-at-home mom, no one would think twice." And there have been comments from people who have children who their child is a stay-at-home mother, but they make comments to Trey about him being home. And he also works
Yeah.
in a business, mind you, but he does do a lot of stay-at-home dad duties. But I'm like, so just because he's a man, like,
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
what are we doing here? But anyway, so those comments used to really get to him. And I think that was part of why he was so scared and nervous. One more little example, when we were pregnant with our first child, our son, we announced that we were pregnant. And then for security purposes, I guess I won't mention any names, that somebody came up to him right after we announced it, like to this like group of people. And they were like, "So are you going to go get a real job now?" And Trey's and I saw him from like across the room. I was like, what just happened? Like his jaw dropped. And
The
he was
audacity.
he was just like, "I actually don't need one and I will never have one. So have fun at yours tomorrow."
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like walked away. I'm just like, some people are so small-minded, and that
yeah.
I think is what was so scary for him. So he just kind of had to get over like what other people might think.
No, and that makes complete sense because I came from a small town and it's very everybody knows your business. It's the same restaurant people go to. Like it's no, and I can understand how that can like take on a lot of pressure. And especially like you said, like being a man, we put this rule that they have to be the provider and like even it's probably ingrained in them, like they were the ones
Yeah,
hunting and gather. Um
definitely.
so it makes total sense why he would freak out like that because it's kind of going, a little bit different, but
Mhm.
guys, it's 2026. Like,
It
it's
is. We always reference this like TikTok we saw like years ago. And it's like this dad who this mom is like the provider, and this dad like stays home with the kids, and he just makes these really funny TikToks, and he makes it, he's like, has like a segment, and he'll be like, "Oh, where's the plastic baby? I need to go shopping today." And then he's like
yeah, yeah,
going to
yeah.
I
Oh,
love it.
man, that is so funny. Oh gosh. So then and the crazy thing is people think Trey's not doing anything. Guys, she's running a whole ass business. Like he's doing
Yeah.
probably a lot more than people think. So just because we like retired our husbands doesn't mean like they're just sitting around doing nothing. They're participating in the business as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what does that transition look like for you guys? And how do you guys balance, husband and wife and also business partners?
Yeah, and for me too, I intentionally have to cut it off sometimes because like for both of us, like say we'll be going on a walk and we'll just be talking about like, our sales results for the month, or like he'll bring something up or I'll bring something up, and it is hard sometimes to not talk
Yeah,
about the
turn it off.
business because we're doing business together. We're together all the time. Like we do have our separate offices because like you need separation. Like you can't
Yeah.
be with each other all the time. But I think for me, I bring it up more often because it was like my baby. It was like my passion
Yeah.
project to begin with. So I do have to cut it off sometimes. Like there'll be like something I want to say. At one point, and this was like 2 years ago, we implemented a weekly meeting. So it was a weekly recap. And it was like certain things that I'd be like, I want to bring this up, but it's like we're chilling right now. Like this is just not like I wouldn't be doing this if I was at a job, right? So
Yeah.
I'd like literally take a note of it, write it down, and bring it to the weekly recap. Now we've stopped that, but that was kind of nice. But the transition, so at first, like I found things that I didn't like to do, and it was energy drainers and suckers for me. And it just worked out so perfectly, probably because, well, that's why we're married, right? Because we have different pros and different cons. And my pros
Mhm.
are his cons and his pros are my cons, whatever. And they mesh together. So things that
Yeah.
like I didn't like and didn't want to do, he actually liked doing that stuff. And there were some things that I didn't mind doing, but like it wasn't my favorite, but then he like didn't like doing it. So it's like, okay, I'll either do it or we will outsource it. Like we will find a way to do this together. So that's one piece of it. Also, his work probably does take about 30 minutes to an hour a day. My work probably does take about an hour to 2 hours a day, depending on different calls and different situations, like, with sales calls, team calls, leadership calls, guest calls,
Yeah.
like, things like that. So I'm more the face of the brand. So, of course, I'm going to be more on
Yeah.
a little bit more. But then on the other side of that, he takes care of the house. Like, he
Yeah.
runs the house. He does most of the cooking. He does, basically all the cleaning. He just he does the cleaning. He does the
Yeah.
cooking. He does the cleaning. He does take care of the kids. He still is working on the business. He does other things. Like, he has different passions and hobbies he's into too. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that or if that
Yeah.
answers the question, but
Yeah, you're good, you're good. And it makes sense because it's like, I don't know, it's just again, it's like it's literally such a mirror. My weaknesses are
yeah.
JP's strongest suits and vice versa, and same. JP does the cleaning, the cooking.
I love it.
But that's just what works for us, you know? It's
It's
just
what
like
makes our house go round. That's what I always
yeah,
say, and I'm like, if that like, everybody has different functions in their own household that makes their house work and makes their, like, lifestyles work, and that's what works for us, and, like, same with you and JP.
yeah. And I think it's also just a beautiful outlook because Trey gets to focus on what truly matters, like the house, the home, the family, and then the business when it needs to be to. And like that's what life should look like for everybody. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what their role or what their title or what mom or dad. It's like
yeah.
it's you get to, and I think that's the beauty of this business is you get to prioritize what is important to you, and you get to like build this business around your life. Because I think that's even like for JP's story, it's like he got to focus on his health, and that was the
Yeah.
biggest, like, thing for me because, like, I saw him so stressed. He was getting shingles. He, like, constantly sick and always on. So, like, to see a whole transformation of, like, now in the morning, he wakes up and he goes to the gym. Like, he would never do that. Yeah,
You
so it's
can't,
just like
you have to figure out the time that you have. And have you
yeah,
ever thought about this, Claudia? Like, I'm sure you have because, you live it every single day, but sometimes I feel like when you live it every day, it just gets so you normalize it, and how we live and how we get to live and be present with our kids is not normal. But a lot of people want that. They want that vehicle and being able to do that. And I look at Trey sometimes like randomly throughout the day, and I'll be like, this is insane. Like, this is so crazy that you and I have never put our kids in daycare. We have never had to leave them. We get it like we just yesterday, I think it was yesterday, Brooks was like, Green Park? Take me to the Green Park? And we're like, and it
yeah,
was like 2:30. And I'm like, yeah, bud, let's go to the Green Park. Both mom and dad are, we're here. We're taking you to the Green Park. And
yeah,
we wouldn't be able to do that if we were at
yeah.
jobs. Like, it's just like all these little moments out or the slow mornings. Like, I made pancakes at 10 o'clock this morning for the family. And it's like, we would never have that. And we are the top 1% of families that get to live that way. And that's insane. Like, it gives me chills when you think about it.
No, and it's absolutely true, and it's like, I do have those moments where I'm like, "Wow, we really do live a different life," because when you go to the park when no one goes to the park,
Yeah.
like, you're literally the only people there, maybe 1 other people. Or
Yeah.
what I would see is I would see nannies taking care of the kids,
Yes.
you know? And you're just like I just would moments when I would see that, like, obviously, I would just feel so grateful that I'm like, I get to enjoy these little moments. Like, I get to see them grow up. Like, I get to, like, travel the world and they get to see it with us, you know? So there is this, like, well, like, this isn't normal, but I think
Mhm.
that was the price we were willing to pay, you know? Or, like, everybody says they wanna be present parents. Everybody says they wanna make $1,000,000. Everybody says they want time freedom, but there's only a very few selective people that actually go for it because
Yeah.
they're willing to sacrifice something in the moment
Yes.
for the greater good. So,
Yes.
what do you feel like you had to sacrifice in order to, like, for the cost of freedom?
Yeah. Oh boy, I'm so glad you bring this up because you can hear our stories, you can hear the way we talk and how we get to live now and just think like, oh, it was a cakewalk, this was handed to them or, whatever. But it's like, no, no matter what you're doing, say you're going to the gym, because we were just talking about that, it's a sacrifice. When are you carving that out in your day? Like, are you going to do it or are you just going to put it to the wayside? Anything that you do is a sacrifice. And I would argue that going into your job is also a sacrifice because you don't want to be
Yeah.
there for the people that don't want to be there. And if you're listening to this podcast,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
one of those people. But okay, so sacrifice for me, when I started this business, I say this all the time and it still holds true. And I say it to everybody who's getting started. I say short term pain for long term gain. You will need to sacrifice some things. I did not watch Netflix. And this wasn't even like, oh, I'm not going to watch Netflix because I'm going to work on my business. I genuinely didn't have the urge to watch Netflix because any free moment I had in my day or my night, I was working on business. So I didn't watch Netflix for a year and a half. It was literally like, I remember this like moment a year and a half later. And Trey was like, oh, do you want to watch this show? And I was like, I forget how to get on Netflix. I cannot remember the time I got on Netflix.
What's my password?
Shows. I didn't like doom scroll on my phone. If I was on my phone, and it's to this day too, if like, my family, makes fun of me and they're like, well, how'd you not see that? You're on your phone all the time. And I'm like, when I'm on my phone, if you see me on my phone, I promise you I'm working. I literally
Yeah.
do not get on my phone, even to this day, to just have funsies or scroll. Okay, there are sometimes I'll like allow myself to like, unwind with like a TikTok scroll or some reels or
Yeah.
whatever. But that's like maybe once a month. I just don't like crave it.
Yeah.
So the sacrifice was I also was a grandma in my sleep schedule. So I would go to bed at like 8 p.m. I'm not kidding you. Every night I was in bed at 8 p.m.
That
And
sounds
then I would
magical.
wake up. I know, right? I would wake
Yeah.
up at like, I think I was waking up at like 6:15, 6:30 at the time for my job, like to get ready and then go to my job. So then I started this business and I was working the business and the job at the same time. So I was like, all right, I need more time. I created more time. I would be waking up at 5 or 5:30. I worked on my lunch break. I worked on my bathroom breaks. I would get home, I would go work, and I would work till at least 10, sometimes 11, 12. But I still understand the importance of my sleep just for my body. Like I have
Yeah.
to have my sleep. So, 10 was pretty much when I was pushing it. But I'm not kidding you when I say I would get home and I would work. Like Trey would be like, all right, like, well, we would do dinner. And then Trey'd be like, all right, like, see you when we go to bed. And he just
Yeah.
knew, and he was supportive in that. He was like, it's okay. Like, well, we're gonna have more time than we even know what to do with whenever you get to the goals that you're after. And he was okay with me just like going into the office, closing the door, and like putting in the work. And I showed up for everything. I showed up for all the team calls, all the community calls. I made my lunch break over a 30-minute mindset call that was every Tuesday at the time, I remember, and it was at 2 p.m. my time. So I made sure to make my lunch break at 1:45 to 2:45 so I could get like out, watch the
Mhm.
call for the 30 minutes, and then get back to work. Like I was, and this goes to the point of like all in, but that's sacrifice. Like
Yeah.
what are you willing to prioritize and what are you willing to give up to? And there were times too where like, friends or even family wanting to go out or like, hey, do you want to go to this like basketball game, like high school basketball game? Do you want to like go to this barbecue or this concert or something together? And like, yes, I wanted to say yes. And it's so backwards because that's what you're working towards. You start this business
Mhm.
because you want to have that time, but I knew it wasn't my time yet. I needed to spend my time working on the business so I could get to the point, which I did a year later, where now I've been doing this business for about 7 years. So in 6 years, I've not had to say no to something because I have the time. So that's what I
Yeah.
look for.
Girl, that part. Like, oh my gosh. Like, it's true. If you want time freedom, you're going to have to sacrifice your time. If you want
Yeah.
financial freedom, you're going to have to sacrifice some money. Like, it's just the total
Yes.
complete opposite. And I think it's like, I was just thinking about doing content around this too, but the idea of like, everybody wants the results, but not everybody's willing to sacrifice or do the work that causes those results. And I think that's what really separates the people in the top 1%. It's really
Yeah.
just being able to like think about what you're asking for. And this is when I think faith really comes into place for, at least for me, is like, man, I really said I wanted to be a leader. So then God gave me all these like tests of like how to
Yeah.
show up as a leader. And it was the most horrible feeling in the world. And,
Why are you
you know,
doing this?
yeah, I was like, why? Like, do you really want this? Or are you just saying you want this? But it really was. I remember saying, like, in the beginning, I want financial freedom. I want financial freedom. So, guess what I felt? I felt great debt, sacrifice, like maxing out my cards, like in a whole like predicament of like, man, like,
Yeah.
but in those moments, I think what's really powerful, I think what helped me is like, I just became so grateful that I'm working towards this. Like,
100%.
JP and I have this joke about like, we don't have to return the strawberries because there was a time where we maxed out all our cards. So we would always just have like the amount for food, and, or the amount for bills or like, so if we went like even $1 over, sorry, we can't get it. So we had to return the strawberries. And now we're like, I
I
remember
love
being
that
like,
that's like a little inside joke now. Like, how special is that?
it is because now when we see like the strawberries, we're like, we don't have to return the strawberries. Like,
Put
or
them
I
in the
just,
cart. We're getting the strawberries every time, okay?
yeah, no, now we buy like 3, 4 like strawberries. And but I just remember thinking like, easily my mind went like, what are you doing? Like, what you're doing is not working, like so much doubt. But then I just remember being like, I'm grateful that I can get the rest of the food and I only have to put back the strawberries. And like,
Yeah.
it's just those little moments I think really helped my mindset of being like, I could have focused on the lack. You could have focused on the lack of like not seeing people, the lack of like not maybe spending time with your son or not your son, your husband, the lack of like maybe watching TV and prioritizing you time, you know? Like you could have focused on the lack, but instead what we did was we focus on what are we building? What is it that like we can have abundance of? Like I think too many people feel like, "Oh, I'm losing this, I'm doing this." And I'm like, "Well, what are you
Mhm.
gaining because you lose of that?"
Perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so
Think
that's
that
crazy.
goes a long way. I think that was a turning point for me too in my business was starting my day with gratitude every single day. And then it just gets ingrained in you of like, yeah, I not even that I should be grateful, but like I am so grateful for what is happening. And I think where your comment about faith, like what we're I don't forget the question you asked me earlier, but it's like, how did you just like something about going all in or something like that? And like
Mhm.
when trials and tribulations come up, it's just like you know that there's a desire on your heart for a reason and for a greater purpose. And like God put it there for a reason. And he's gonna give you the equipment to get through it as
Mhm.
well, as long as you like step into that power and do it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's what really like makes the hard times or the sacrifice like is just changing the aspect of like where like yes, it's a lack in this department, but in the other department I could have eased I was like, I have a whole full cart of food over there. Like
Yeah.
that's okay. Like I just had to like
Yeah.
change my focus and change my energy and change my state of mind to really notice that I was like how easy it could be to feel that lack of, but in reality it's like I just focus on the gratitude of like I'm so grateful we can afford groceries. I'm so grateful we
Yeah.
did pay our month another month, you know, like, and then now that's just not a problem anymore. So it's just, it really was like I had to sacrifice feeling like that I was on the bottom of the barrel to feel like now I feel like I'm on the top, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that can go into business too. It's like you make a few sales and maybe it's your first sales and you're like, "Oh, it's not as much as I like wanted," but it's like it's better than not having it. Like you so great. Like one time I remember like I had like some deductions or whatever come out so I had to like the check was less than I expected and it came in at $5 and it was supposed to be significantly more, but you know, something happened where it whatever, it worked out that way. And I was like, "You know what? I am so grateful for this $5. This is Starbucks. Like, it's just paid for my
Yeah.
Starbucks this morning, so thank you."
Yeah. Yeah. And you love your Starbucks.
Love my Starbucks.
Oh man. No, it is. It's like, no, that's definitely happened to me too. So now going into, I want to transition a little bit and pivot to like motherhood because you make motherhood look easy, girl. And congratulations on your third one.
Oh,
Like
yes, thank
that,
you.
I was like, girl, you've been busy.
I know my sister's comment in that video, I was like, "This is definitely making the cut." I love it.
I love that. So, how is, I mean, I think the beautiful part of your journey is that you got to start this before, you know? So, you really like were planning for your big family way before where like all in God's timing, but like I did it while becoming
Yeah.
a mom. But I think it's just so beautiful to see your journey like unfold that you have this growing family, you have this thriving business, and that allows you to be present for going to be all three of them, both parents being there and having this type of legacy money passed down to them because you were brave enough to do that leap of faith. So, how do you balance it all?
Yeah, and it is a balancing act. Like, so when I made the comment earlier, like when I started this business, I would come home from work and I would work like all in the business,
Mhm.
fully building my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5. But I coach a lot of moms. I coached moms before I was a mom. And you still can make you, Claudia, A1 example, right? You still find ways to make it work. I just wanted to preface it with that.
Yeah.
But my journey is different, right? So this is my story. This is how I did it, and that was always in my brain too from the very beginning. I always knew I wanted a big family, so I knew when I started this, I was like, this could really get us to like be home with our kids, and like how cool would that be, right? So balancing motherhood, it is a balancing act because I can't just if I want to finish a task or if I want to, I'm just like, oh, I'm really like some days you wake up and you're like really in a work mode, you're like, I can get
Yeah.
so much done today. But sometimes you cannot do that because you're a parent first. And so yes, I'm home all the time with my kids and so is my husband. But that doesn't mean we can just like we don't just like hang out with them all the time. Like we have to separate. So for him and I, it's like if he's working on the business then I'm with the kids. If I'm doing my business tasks, then he's with the kids. Now, there are
Yeah.
times like today, actually, right before we hopped on, I was doing something in my ads manager and I went out, I finished up, I went out there and the kids were just playing around with their toys and Trey was on his laptop doing some of his work. And I was like, wow, like that never happens. Like typically you have to like be hands on and present with him, but he was able to
Yeah.
like get stuff done. But I really found that my balance is writing down my task, like just like a list of tasks that I want to do, like I want to work on, I want to update, I want to get done, or yeah, I want to schedule an email out or whatever. I write those down and then every day I go into the Notion app. Do you know what Notion is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I go into the Notion app and I have my daily like I have daily stuff that I do every single day and it's just like that's just back of my hand. I know I'm gonna get it done, but I'll check it off. But then my tasks are like whatever I'm doing. Like today it was an ads manager audit, and then I forget what else was on my task. There's one other thing on my task today, and then I have this call and I have one other call today. Whereas before I could just like look at my never ending list and go down the list. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Now I'm gonna do this. Now I'm gonna do this. Or
Yeah.
even like hopping off of a call sometimes when I'm hosting a call and I need to like get the recording out for my community, it's like, well, I can't just wait there and like get this out. I'm just gonna have to come back to this and they're gonna have to get it tomorrow because there's mom duties. Or sometimes if I get really inspired at night, like I will pull up my phone. I know you're not supposed to look at your phone in bed, but sometimes if I'm really inspired at night, I'm pulling up my phone. I whipped out an
Yeah.
entire 9-day sprint one night in my bed on my phone because I was just like going off on
Yeah.
things. And I was like, oh, this was great. So you just have to find those pockets in your day, and it is a balancing act, but it's so beautiful that you get to balance that act.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think that's like why we started this business in the first place. I mean, at least I know I did. When I was
Yep.
like, I want to work in the pockets of my day. Like I want to be able to prioritize what's important. But in reality, it's like, no, it's true. Sometimes you get like first thing in the morning, I'm like, oh, I have all this energy. Let's go ahead and do it. And some mornings I want to sleep in. Like, but
Yep.
I think that's
Yep.
the beauty of it and the privilege of like working so hard so you can do things like this with that going on. And how is it like, because now you have like your house that you bought too because of like everything that you worked for and like how does it feel now? How long have you been doing this business for?
It'll be 7 years on June 12th.
Wow. Lucky 7. Awesome.
Lucky
Okay.
7.
So lucky 7. So now, like, if you can, like, look at your whole 7 years of your journey and you're like pregnant with your third child, you have your house being built. You guys traveled the world. You guys traveled through in the it was an RV or a van?
Yeah, it was an RV.
Yeah, an RV. Okay. I was
Thanks.
like, traveled the United States in a RV. Like, you guys literally accomplished so much. And you're 31?
I just turned 30.
30? Oh my gosh, see, I'm older than you. Only by a year. But yeah, but see, like, you did that all before 30. Like, how does that feel about your journey? But also, like, would you tell yourself anything different than what you know now?
It is so crazy. Like, I really do. This is something I often think back on because I'm like, 7 years flew by. Like, I cannot believe I'm celebrating my 7th year this year. And 7 years would have flown by regardless. And I could have been in that same spot where, again, like I mentioned, it was a good trajectory. I was going places there too, but like how different our life and our experiences have been because of this has just been like has just I don't know, it's been insane. And yeah, looking back at I don't know if I to do something different, I wouldn't have done anything different. Like I think that my journey was I could give advice for people on how to get results maybe quicker because I went through it and like in that
Yeah.
stuff maybe I would say I would do it differently. But actually no, I wouldn't have done it differently because I needed to learn that. Like
Yeah.
it was a year it was right after I quit my job, like 6 months after I quit my job where I get my all of my business from essentially through advertising, that whole account shut down. And I was like 6 months after quitting my job, right? And I'm like,
Ooh.
like that could have really torn someone down and been the pivotal moment of someone being like, all right, I'm going back to a job. Like this just isn't going to work. Like clearly it's not for me. But no, a month later we put our house on the market because we were like, Trey's going to leave his job here soon and we're going to go in an RV. And I just had full faith that it was going to happen. And so no, I wouldn't do anything different because it taught me and now I can teach the people I coach like what I went through. But if I could give advice to somebody who if someone's in my shoes listening to this where you don't have kids yet, like but you like like that's what you want to do. Maybe you want to travel like if you're in the season of life where you don't have kids, take advantage. You have
Mhm.
more time to build the business. Moms and dads build this business all the time when they're full-time parenting. I coach somebody who built this business with 2 toddlers under 3 years old. She quit her job after 6 months. It can be done.
Mhm.
She was earning 6 figures at her she was a director of pharmaceutical sales. And she still bitch I remember her being in, like, the bathtub and, like, doing, like, calls, like, not sales call, but, like, on community calls and stuff. She's like, "I have to, like, do it. I have to figure out the pockets of my day." So, yes, it can be done, and it's done all the time, like, all the time. But if you're in that time of your life where you're not yet there yet, and you know those are the goals you're going for, and you wanna be that mom, and you wanna have that for your family, do it now. You will not
Mhm.
regret it. You have the time, and now is the time to do it. So then when you do have a family, then you can give them your time and attention, and then you can already have the business.
Yeah. No, you said that so beautifully because there's the thing about working on social media, because it is the way that we market, because it's one
Mhm.
free, or if you do advertising, like you mentioned, there's going to be always something wrong. There's going to be a
Yeah.
glitch in the system. You know, like
Yep.
Instagram glitches all the time and it's so annoying. Your Instagram could get hacked or your Facebook could get hacked.
Yeah.
Your ads manager, like you said, like it can be restricted. Like I've been flagged so many times and it is true. Like, you really do see the different mindset of people of like, man, I need to go back to a job, or this is just not working, or you figure it out as you go. And I
Yeah.
think you said it so perfectly. Like, if you don't have kids right now, you have 24 hours of the day.
We're
Like,
living very different 24 hours than the moms and dads are.
exactly. Like, especially like the age group of like what kids you have. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's true.
Yeah, so I'd always even tell that a comparison. I was like, when I like mentor my own moms and they have like babies, and I'm like, my 24 hours with a 5-year-old looks completely different with
Very
your
different.
24
Yeah,
hours with a 6-month old. Like,
yeah,
give yourself grace, you know?
yeah,
So I think that's such good advice that if you don't have kids, like that's your moment to take off. Like you're going to thank yourself for the future for doing it.
yeah, I know. I love that. I love that you brought that into the conversation because again, like it can seem all like rainbows and butterflies when you hear what you hear from us, but yeah, there were sacrifices to be made. So
Yeah. But all right. So thank you so much for hopping on. This was such a great conversation. And where can people find you if they listen to this podcast and they're like, you know what? I love Kristen Braun. I love her energy. I want to work with her. Like, where can they find you?
come along to the community, come to the fam. So you can find me on Instagram. It's at Braun Daily. It's my last name, Braun Daily, Daily. And then on Facebook, I'm just Kristen Braun. It's the same pictures that you'll see on my Instagram. So you can make sure it's the same person. And that's where I'm at mostly. I'm on TikTok for funsies. I post my business stuff on there too, but it's more fun on there. And it's also
Yeah.
at Braun Daily.
Nice. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about like high ticket affiliate marketing, you want to learn about this business model, you want to learn about the legacy ranking that we've been talking about, or maybe you want to own your time, your energy, your finances, then yes, you could reach out to Kristen, or you could also either go to www.claudiaconquers.com and really see, you'll probably see Kristen on my page. She's definitely a testimony on there. So you'll see both of us. But yeah, so thank you for tuning in. I hope this sparked something inside of you. If it did, please share this, leave a review. That does a lot more. It goes far because when you share this to somebody else, you're also giving them the potential of having something like this for them. So please leave a review if you sparked something from this conversation. But other than that, stay tuned to the next episode. Bye.
Bye.